Good evening. I'm calling the regular board meeting this evening to order. Kelly Douglas, please take roll.
Thank you. Director Shoemaker.
Here.
Director Salvaggio.
Here.
Vice Chair Vidal. Here. Chair Sloop.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and we're going to start with our communications from our high schools, and starting with Riverside High School, Apollonia Munoz.
I'm here as your Riverside High School representative, and thank you for taking this opportunity for me to share updates over the past couple of weeks and activities that we're looking forward to in the coming month. March so far has been an exciting month as we settle into the second half of the school year and we transition into spring. As days grow longer, students and staff continue to show dedication both inside and outside the classroom. Our athletics department winter sports season just ended, and we had some great outcomes. The boys and girls basketball teams both finished strong, with the boys earning a Sportsman Award for the league. Swim and wrestling teams also competed well in district competitions and earned academic all-state honors. We had a wrestler compete at the state this season, and she earned 6th place for all 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A wrestlers. We also had a swimmer compete at state in the 500 freestyle, and he earned 5th place overall. We're so proud of our winter sports athletes, and we know that they're representing our school well. The spring sports season are now officially underway as of March 2nd. Some sports we offer include tennis, track and field, golf, softball, and baseball. Our baseball and softball teams are both combined with Milwaukee High School, and they too will begin games this week. We have competitions coming up for the tennis team's first year as a varsity program, competing at numerous games this week, starting with the girls team going to play at Milwaukee and the boys having the Milwaukee boys team at home. In total, we have 50 athletes involved in our spring sports season, which is incredible. In terms of clubs and other extracurricular activities, Rotary Interact has just had a bake sale, which raised lots of money. Also, the club just got their Peace Pole, which is an internationally recognized monument displaying "May Peace Prevail on Earth" in multiple languages, serving as a beacon of hope and symbol of Rotary's commitment to peace building. We are proud to be joining other schools that have this pole. In National Honor Society, there's an upcoming blood drive since the first one was so successful. It will take place on April 3rd, and it'll be all day. We'd love to have anyone 16 years or older come by and donate, and we hope to have even more donations at our last drive in October. Also in NHS, officers are going to be elected next month, and many candidates will be delivering speeches. Our school also had a great showcase at ISEF this year. We had multiple students qualify for state, and many students won award and cash prizes. Looking ahead, we are excited to push through this week and have a well-deserved spring break. Once we return, we will continue strong as the end of the year approaches. We are excited for prom on April 25th, and students are preparing for IB exams that will come along also with assemblies. Thank you for the continued support, and have a wonderful evening.
All right, Wes Lynn, Brody Olson.
Some good evening, members of the board. It's filling my heart with joy to see the blossoming buds on the trees and the bushes this time around. There's a bunch to wrap up for February, so let's get right into it. Cheer went to Anaheim, California for the USA Spirit National Cheer Competition, where, after a rigorous performance, secured 9th in the nation, celebrating their victory with 2 days at Disneyland. Our boys swim team got 2nd at districts, and our girls secured 1st. Both teams locked in and got 5th in state overall. And our very own Lauren Sexton was awarded the OSAA Swim State Champion for the 200 individual medley. And after a long day at Clackamas County Courthouse, our mock trial team, gold team, and black team secured 2 of the 3 district state spots. They will head to state on March 14th. So yeah, this upcoming week, they head to New York. Very exciting. All of our wrestlers fought hard at state, but 2 came out on top. Ryder Sprague, senior, and sophomore Darian Johnson are the state champions for the 138 and 132 weight classes. A huge congratulations to Olivia Wang, who was awarded Oregon Journalist of the Year at the Spring Media Day competition, as well as our 11 journalism and yearbook members who won first team in state for their outstanding work. Macbeth is finally ready for an audience, Oh, well, apologies. But yeah, they performed on the 5th, 7th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. They incorporated Filipino Cali sword and knife style fighting, ultraviolet lights, student-created art, and a few surprise edits to the script. It was a very intense and intoxicating production. I hope you all got the opportunity to see it. Balancing athletics and extracurriculars with academics is not an easy feat, and we couldn't be more proud of all of our students who have decided to take on that challenge. BSU had a very successful Black History Month celebration during live class. They sold Chick-fil-A, raffled off a Cane's gift card, and held a 3v3 basketball tournament in our main gym. It was such a blast. And finally, after many, many hours of challenge planning, clue creating, chasing teams, and late nights at the school, ASB's 2026 Amazing Race has come to an end. With a Survivor-themed finale, the top 3 teams competed for first place. In the end, it was Team Red, Molly Smith and Emily Miller, who competed for first. Oh yeah, they won first. And in the end, it was Team Red. They won the top prize of $500 for their charity, Joy RX Children's Cancer Awareness, as well as major bragging rights throughout the school. With the participation of the 13 main teams and generous checks from their sponsors, we were able to raise $2,200, all evenly split and donated towards the charities of the team's choosing. Truly an amazing, amazing race. As always, it's a pleasure getting to update you all, and thank you so much for your time, and have a blessed March.
All right, Wilsonville High School, Ryan Williams.
Good evening, everybody. Great to be back here. We got a whole lot to unpack. It's going to be a fun night. This past weekend, the last of our winter sports ended. We had our brand new varsity head coach take the girls to the quarterfinals, so that's a big feat for his first season. The unified team, unified basketball, got to host the state tournament at Wilsonville, which was a whole lot of fun. They ended up coming third. We had multiple boys and girls wrestlers that got to compete at the Veterans Coliseum, putting us on the map. Very proud of that. We had swim meet. Our swimmers went out in style with a senior night tradition where they all dressed up as costumes. This year was pirate attire, so a whole lot of fun watching that. All these pictures are actually provided, besides the Sherwood graphic, of course, were all provided by a student photographer named Tyler Widener, who he's kind of been saving me a lot of time on this. Check him out. He's a great dude and pride and joy of Wilsonville. On the out with the old, in with the new, now we have golf, softball, baseball, boys and girls lacrosse, and track all starting competitions this week. Perfect week to start as well. I'm very happy with the sun coming back out. So, we're doing great on athletics. Performing arts side, we just finished up Robin Hood performances I got to go see. Whenever there's a show in our PAC, I highly suggest you go watch. It's a great experience. As well as as well as theater, we also have orchestra and band concerts this week. So if you want to go see that, I highly recommend, free to the public. Next up for our theater, Anne of Green Gables just started practicing and getting that figured out for their last performance of the year. Academics, we have had a great few weeks with a National Merit finalist, Arush Goswami, taking it home for Wilsonville. Very proud of him. We had the Jane Goodall Science Fair, where district-wide ISET members all got to come to our school and show their experiments and their research, which was a lot of fun, and even students ourselves at Wilsonville got to go see that during the day. Let's see. Sorry, figuring out the iPad. I don't like it tonight. Robotics was this weekend, and our own robotics team got to come second at the tournament we were hosting. Very proud of that. Clubs, we have Spring Fest going on at the high school. Lots of games for upperclassmen to compete for a cash prize and just show some school spirit, and just occasional assemblies for everyone to enjoy. BSU for Black History Month got to host over 40 third graders, which was quite the challenge. I volunteered and helped out with that. But it was a whole lot of fun, and it was a very big blessing to get to share and teach those lessons that were very valuable. And they taught us our own lesson of Black history is American history and American history is our history. And I took that to heart after they taught that to me. We're just doing great and excited for spring break. Excited to see you guys all next month. Thank you for your time.
All right, next up is recognitions. Shyla Waldron for classified staff appreciation.
And while they're coming up, just want to thank our students again. We know you're so super busy, and making time for this month and coming prepared with your presentations is great. Thank you. Yeah. Enjoy spring break.
They're all taller than me. Good evening, School Board of Directors and Superintendent Ludwig. We are excited to have the opportunity to recognize our classified colleagues tonight in celebration of Classified Appreciation Week, which is the first full week in March. The term classified encompasses a large group of staff who serve many key and important roles in our district. These roles include paraeducators, custodians, administrative assistants, our maintenance employees, nutrition services, IT specialists, school and safety engagement specialists, building engineers, accounting technicians, athletic trainers, warehouse, bookkeeper, crest garden coordinator, and our licensed journeyman. We could not run our district each day without the work and contributions of our wonderful classified staff. Here tonight to accept recognition on behalf of our classified employees is our OSEA President, Jared Hayes. The OSEA President role is a voluntary position that includes many meetings outside of Mr. Hayes' regular work hours. Jared has served as the OSEA President for 2 school years and has done a tremendous job bringing forward staff questions and issues that arise in our buildings and departments. We've appreciated the collaborative and problem-solving approach that Jared brings to the OSEA President role. Things can often be complicated in the work, especially with serving staff who fulfill a variety of different positions, but we sit down and talk through it to find ways to come to resolution. We greatly appreciate Jared's commitment to our staff, the district, and the students of the West Linn-Wilsonville Schools District. So if you could please join us in celebrating our classified colleagues for all the work they do in support of West Linn-Wilsonville School District.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. I always don't know what to say with these because it's hard to accept recognition for my work. That's a personal challenge I have. I do know that our classified staff works very hard across all the different job aspects, whether it's paraeducators, night custodial. I know this year in particular has been a little more challenging than years in the past due to issues that we're all aware of. And they still strive to do their best every day. And thank you for the recognition.
Director Shoemaker.
I just want, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we sometimes get emails. And I don't know that you hear as often as we do how much the community appreciates the work of you, the staff that you represent. Because, you know, you sometimes see people saying, we love our teachers, we love our teachers. We hear a lot about how much that staff is appreciated. So I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Vidal.
Sure.
I just want to appreciate you and all your teams across all our schools as well. I know that they fulfill a number of roles, but within those roles, they're fulfilling a number of roles too. And that isn't lost on me. And I just want to echo Director Shoemaker in that, you know, we are constantly asked for more of your staff, like more paras, more facilities, more, you know, more of everyone. And we know you are so valuable. And so I just want to hope you take that back to them and let them know how much we appreciate them. And we really rely on them in our schools. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Director Salvaggio.
Yeah, I was going to say I want to echo my colleagues, but you already used the phrase echo, so I'll echo my colleagues as echo, and just say that we hear from the community as well. I think that it's easy for people to look at the school and say thanks, teachers, and certainly thanks to the teachers that are in there every day. But it's not lost on people that there's more than just teachers that are making school work and making it a place that their kids want to go, that their kids are safe at. And so just, again, thanks very much for the work that you and your team and your people do.
Thank you.
Ludwig.
Did you want to go next? You go. You know, I think, and I remember this as a principal, in the life of a student, there really isn't this distinction of licensed and classified. It's a label we have for reasons around professional organization and representation. But for kids, there's a trusted adult in the school that I can go to, who I know works there, who cares about me and my best interest. And so there really is this beautiful kind of melding of everybody is teacher or, trusted adult. And there's a lot of research around the significance of trusted adult in the lives of children that builds resiliency, relationship. So even though we have these labels or distinctions, when it really comes to the day-to-day, our students just see these amazing adults who serve in this blend of roles in what they call school. And when I go in the building, there's kids gravitating towards their building engineer with as much interest as going over to talk to an SRO or a student support person or someone in the office who's that first friendly face. And so I just want to thank your staff for really being that trusted adult for kids in a day and a time when students need more and more people in their roles as mentors and cheerleaders to believe in them and to bring about this belief in belonging in this safe and welcoming school environment. So thank you to your team. I know we'll have more opportunities throughout the month to thank them. The red bags that you found on your chairs were tokens of appreciation that Shyla and her team put together for every classified employee. Just a small, really a small token of a huge appreciation. So thank you, Jared, for your leadership work as well. As Shyla mentioned, you do this above and beyond all that you do during the day. So thank you for doing it so well, and I appreciate working with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say that truly appreciate you and all of the classified staff. Just show up every day. You're a lifeline with all of our daily operations and supporting roles day in and day out with all the other departments. And we truly, truly value your presence in our district. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to board reports. Director Shoemaker.
Yeah, just a short report for me tonight. If you've been watching the news, you've seen lots of districts lately talking about budgets. I think just in the last week or two, I've heard stories from Canby, Gladstone, Oregon City, Portland Public, obviously, Eugene, Beaverton, and it's a kind of similar language we're hearing throughout. And it reminds me that I feel like every year I need to make a little bit of a comment about budgets. School boards don't write budgets, nor should they, because it takes the expertise of people who know education budgets to write budgets. But school boards are responsible for oversight as well as vision, right? And as representatives of the community, that we want to make sure that budgets reflect the vision of the community as well as responsibility. And that's the work we do. And I was struck when we were listening to the report outs from the high school kids. I'm just going to read off some of the activities they mentioned: ISEF, mock trial, swimming, cheer, robotics, basketball, boys and girls wrestling, boys and girls journalism, drama theater, unified basketball, golf, softball, baseball, track and field orchestra, band. That's just some. I'm sure I missed a few. As we think about budgets, there's a lot in a budget. There's a lot that brings kids to school. And we also have to think about programmatically, what does it mean to have a high quality school district? So I just want to say a few words about that. And with respect to the voice of people, I want to say that I appreciate the emails I get from people when they have questions, because I can just call the district and say, can I have a meeting about budget next week? And sometimes my discussion is informed by some of the things I've heard from the community. Sometimes it's informed by my own thinking. And as long as we only meet with 2 people at a time, we're not in violation of public meeting law. And that's kind of how this goes. This is what we do. And that's the way democracy works. So I'll stop with that.
Thank you. Director Salvaggio?
So I'll just start off by saying that I took my kindergartner to the Jane Goodall Science Symposium in Wilsonville a few days ago. And he initially averred that he would rather stay home and play Minecraft. But I have to say that it was so amazing that even he just got stars in his eyes the moment he walked in. He was running from booth to booth to see these experiments and projects that ranged from grow your own crystals to a complicated, electricity managing project that another student in his school had done. There were high school students that were actively working on, possibly industry ready products. It was amazing and inspiring. And all he could talk about for the next few days was, I can't wait till I get to do that. And of course I said, you could do it right now. And it's like, well, right now I'm going to play Minecraft, but when I get older, and I'm going to do that. So I really appreciate the work that went into that, not just from the staff, but also from the students who really, really turned out their A game. I wanted very much to see Macbeth at Westland High School. I was not able to make it to the last show. It's about a self-appointed king who rises to prominence through lies and subterfuge and slowly grows mad and erratic with power. I assumed that it worked out well for him in the end because I didn't see it, but I wish him the best. I just wanted to give a shout out because I heard that the star of Fiddler was Jack Walters was in it, and I couldn't wait to see the additional acting that he brought to the Scottish play. I heard it was great. Again, to echo some other districts are going through, and give a little bit of congratulations to our district, because certainly we're experiencing the same kind of downturns as our neighboring districts. But as we hear those horror stories, we have not yet, knock on wood, had to make these insane course corrections mid-year, such as Portland Public Schools facing a deficit, not just for the next year, but in the middle of this year. And I wanted to point out that that's such a much more significant issue, because people come to me and they ask me, how can we have these ending balances? Can't we, we got the money, why don't we spend it? And of course, we don't get to put the budget together, or we don't get to decide how much money we get every year. And so the management that we've seen at the district office here, I think deserves some kudos, because we can't insulate ourselves from having financial troubles, but we can certainly decide through good management how that plays out during the school year. And I think that when you look at what's going on elsewhere, we've been doing a pretty fantastic job. I do have a couple of legislative updates. As you might know, the Oregon legislature wrapped up their short February session on March 6th. We were hoping for an unlock of some additional K-12 funds. That did not happen. The Education Stability Fund and the Rainy Day Fund stayed shut tight. We did have some good discussions with education advocates in the legislature, including Representative Ricky Ruiz, who's the co-chair of the Ways and Means Subcommittee on Education, very interested in getting more money to K-12, but just the will was not there. Also a good example of why we don't budget in anticipation of good things that might happen, because it seemed like it was more likely to happen than ended up not happening. There was a partial disconnect to the federal tax code that is going to save about $312 million in revenue. I had personally hoped for a little bit more, but it did maintain tax breaks for tips and overtime income. It did increase the earned income tax credit, but it did disallow immediate business depreciations, which I can't speak for anyone else, but I personally am thrilled to see that money go into K-12. There were some improvements to the tracking of chronic absenteeism in the form of HB 4154, and I'll shout out to House Bill 4079, which you may remember last year we had a incident of federal agents possibly being around one of our Wilsonville campuses. 4079 clarifies notification requirements when federal agents are on school property, protects students and their information, but also, I think this is very important, formalizes the notification process so that it's based on clear communication between parties as opposed to text messages, Facebook posts, and that kind of thing that can lead to rumors. So glad to see that that's being formalized and addressed, and that's my update.
Vice Chair Vidal.
Thank you so much. This month, I was able to speak at and attend the Frog Pond opening celebration for the new primary school in Wilsonville's newest neighborhood. And I also attended the legislative town hall in Tigard with Senator Courtney Neron-Mislin, Majority Leader Ben Bowman, Representative Sue Ricky Smith, and Mayor Hu from Tigard. And so at this town hall, one of the main topics of discussion was housing. And so the state is going to begin to assess cities on their housing development, just as they are evaluating school districts on performance measures such as chronic absenteeism or their literacy rates or their graduation completion rates. So it is the young families that are able to move to Wilsonville, which make primary schools like Frog Pond possible. So next, I just want to congratulate the history-making West Linn girls basketball team for their state championship win. And I want to congratulate our girls Wilsonville Wildcats for their quarterfinal win as well. And as my fellow board members have said tonight, there is so much to celebrate at all our schools, academically, athletically, and extracurricularly. Oh my goodness, extracurricularly. Geez, I don't even know if that's a word, with robotics and ISEF and all the performing arts. So I'm just so proud of our students. It's extraordinary. And thank you. I'm done.
And I do not have a board report, so we'll move on to Dr. Ludwig with her superintendent report.
Thank you, Chair Sloop. There we go. And next slide. Well, it's going to sound redundant to just list off all of that our students mentioned as well as board members, but just also wanted mention that there were a lot of events happening at primary schools. This is the season for bingo nights and all sorts of things, and movie nights. That tends to happen during the winter months, as well as international cultural fairs. So I've been able to attend a number of those across our primary schools. Very successful theater productions at our two large high schools. Riverside's production will be in April, as well as the middle school musical. So you can let it go with Frozen, or you can go down the rabbit hole with Alice in Wonderland in April. So those are coming up. We are a district that hosts our own amazing events, but we also are quite sought after across the state for hosting other events. Our facilities, our location right here on the I-5 corridor. We were able to host the OWABE conference that I mentioned to you. That's the Oregon Association of Bilingual Education. A huge turnout with keynote speakers. And then we are, as I'll mention later, hosting the Northwest Science Expo. So we are a district that a number of regional as well as local events occur. We had our joint West Linn-Wilsonville First Responder Safety Meeting. These are our quarterly meetings where we refine our practices, make sure we have clarity of communication, and then we also practice some safety scenarios to make sure that we're exercising those muscles. And I could list the same list that Director Shoemaker mentioned of all the things that our students are involved in. You can see those there, as well as band and choir festivals. And then a huge shout out to our Westland High School cheer and girls basketball for their state championship feats this winter. Yes, first in history, when Title IX passed in the mid-1970s or early 1970s, it was 1975 that our Westland High School girls started their first basketball team. And so here we are 50 years later with their first win. So it was very emotional. There was also some family connections. A grandparent who was on the coaching staff in the 1970s, whose granddaughter was on the team with that win. So just some real celebration. Next. You've mentioned the Crest Jane Goodall Science Symposium. This is for our students to bring their science fair projects together. We had 177 students contributing 131 projects. We bring in judges for those science fair submissions and have our own awards ceremony. And then out of that, students are selected for the Northwest Science Expo, which we are hosting, I believe, at Riverside on April 6th. And that's other school districts coming together and from their student selections on April 6th. And then 4 of our students earned Best of Fair, which means they have an all-expense paid trip to represent the school district in Phoenix, Arizona at the International Science and Engineering Fair. So they'll compete there, and it's just a really incredible week for them to see high caliber research, interact with students from around the world, and then also show their research. Of course, for me, the keynote speaker is always a highlight. We've had very notable scientists, national scientists come and speak. But in the last number of years, we've actually brought back alumni to speak. And it's such a joy to see students who now are in the field of science and engineering share their journey with fellow students, many of whom were in those same seats not long ago at the Science Symposium with their cardboard trifold, and all of their research, and here they are now professionals. And Tony Munoz really knocked it out of the park, sharing personally his journey as well as his current research study up at OHSU, earning his doctorate degree at the same time. Next. It was so much fun to cut the ribbon at Frog Pond. This is our fourth or fifth time to have community members in the building. We did some open houses for families earlier on, especially as they were considering school decisions. And so we had several community open house events prior to this ribbon cutting, but we still had a full house. All the chairs were filled and students came. And I want to thank Vice Chair Vidal for her incredible remarks. Principal Marianne Decker did a beautiful job setting the stage for what it means to open a new school and invite children into that space and place. I want to thank Mayor Sean O'Neill for his remarks, and of course to our community for their investment in this school. And from here, there's a lot more big plans in terms of now filling it with the staff and stuff to start school. We've mentioned the first robotics competition, another great highlight, one again that we host. And this is again a regional competition that we're asked by First Robotics if we would host it every year because of our venue and our amazing staff who do an incredible job of helping with the setup and the takedown. And so I want to thank Wilsonville High School for hosting and all the staff for making that happen. I would say hundreds of volunteers involved in both the refereeing, the judging, the technology setup, the support for the pit crews, and just all of the comings and goings. Parents show up to chaperone and volunteer as well. So it's really a great showcase of community supporting students. And just a lot of fun watching the robots compete. Wanted to provide another update on our primary schools transitions. I told you that each month I would have an update for you as a school board. In January, you received information about the new boundaries and approved that. In February, we then gave several weeks for parents to then consider their new boundaries and make submissions for transfers if they wanted to be considered for a different school than the one that they were zoned for. So we collected all those through the end of February. This month, we began the process of taking a look at those, tallying them, and then sitting down with principals to consider where those transfers were requested and which ones we could approve. We did put together a tiered process for that. But if you can go to the next slide. Before I get into that, I just wanted to remind the board, this is again the projected enrollment for next year with the boundary projection. So again, this is if all students go where they are boundaried to go, and also not knowing exactly how many kindergartners will enroll, but having that projection from Flow Analytics, or how many families will stay or new families coming in. Remember, there's a lot of variables always going on. But this was the new boundaries projection. And again, just reminding the board and our community that Frog Pond will start smaller. There are students who want to stay at Beckman Creek to finish their 4th or 5th grade year, and may not want to transition to Frog Pond, and that it will grow in subsequent years as that community continues to infill with new development. Next. And then again, this was that projection that Flow Analytics had with our new boundary adjustment. Again, where we predict families would go if they went where they were zoned. But we know that we had a lot of transfer requests, close to 200 that came in. Some were duplicates, some were unnecessary requests because people were already zoned for that school. So as we sorted through those, I think we'd be close to about 175 that we went through. And that does change these numbers somewhat. Next. So the process in March was to go through, we had a tiered process of approval. In other words, if we didn't want to promise that we could say yes to everybody's request, as we have to think about space availability at a school as well as grade level availability. And so we were able to approve almost all of the district transfers. The ones we did have a handful that we did have to deny requests for Willamette. So tier 2 through 5 are on hold for Willamette, but all the rest we were able to say yes to. And those ones that were right now on hold and with a denial for Willamette are on a lottery placed wait list for each grade level. And if space becomes available, we'll go back to those families and let them know. There's a lot of time between now and August. And in my experience, there are families that change their mind or circumstances happen, especially when there are new boundaries and new school considerations. And sometimes families put all their options in the basket, and then if they change their mind, it's easier for them to remove their request. So we are on hold for a few families, and we've been able to honor all of their second choices as they've indicated those. Which leads us to what happens next. So boundaries in January, submitting transfers, approving transfers. Now we've got kind of this base for how many classrooms do we think we may have at each grade level and at each school. Of course, anything can change still between now and August, but it gives us a starting point to now look at how we assign staff. So we're doing some preliminary looking right now before spring break, but we'll really be going through that process in April. We have a contract with our licensed association that does outline under Article 13 vacancies, transfers, and assignments. And so we work carefully through those processes that are outlined in our contract. Staff submit their applications of interest. Principals then meet with each of those applicants for what's called in our contract a short interview. And then principals work to either approve or deny those transfers, and then notifications have to happen. If we still need some folks to transfer or move to an opening, we have a process called a district-initiated transfer if we don't have enough volunteers who submit applications of interest. And then, of course, there's criteria for transfers. Do they have the right certification for the grade level or the subject area that they want to transfer to. Of course, in primary, folks get a K-5 teaching degree, so it's different than secondary where you might be licensed in a content area. Seniority may come into play or some other factors, so those are outlined in the contract. So I just want to remind the board and our community that this process actually takes time to consider those applications and then for principals to set those interviews with every single applicant who has an interest and make sure it's a quality conversation and feels meaningful and helps principals and the teacher make a discernment around whether it is something they want to continue with. And then, of course, those notifications. So we imagine that a lot of April will be to make those careful assignments, and it does take time. Just wanted to remind the board that you're going to hear a lot of very important information from Dr. Hughes this evening around financial updates and budget, and pretty soon the budget process will be coming up. We had initially a $10 million reduction, and then of course we made the recommendation to keep the Chinese dual language program, which brings it now to a $9.5 million reduction. And just wanted to remind the board how you're going to hear some things about moving some funds this evening in preparation for that. So want to thank our community. Because of the capital bond passage, that reduces the impact to the general fund of $2.65 million. So we actually don't have a $9.5 million reduction anymore if you take the $2.65 million right off the top. It does lessen that. You made the decision about those litigation fees, and you'll be making a decision tonight to transfer those funds. We are suspending the preschool program, reducing some more supplies and materials across the district, and then, of course, the consolidation of the 2 primary schools. Within some of those decisions are some staffing adjustments and reductions, but then also we do need to take a look at some more licensed classified positions, and we've already reduced 1 district office administrator position in this building. So we're hoping to make as many of those reductions through attrition, retirements, leaves, and resignations, but we'll keep you informed along the way. And I was going to share some legislative updates as well, but thank you, Director Silvaggio, for the summary. There were 62 bills submitted that could have potentially affected schools and students. As we know, we are not able to get any relief from the Education Stability Fund. There was also no add back to the funding cuts for outdoor school. So I'll be sharing with you later some of the changes around that, but we will be having outdoor school still. But that reduction, that significant reduction in funding just may mean it could look different for us and other school districts. And then there are some that passed that you may be hearing about, especially as they impact us. And Director Silvaggio mentioned House Bill 4079. There are also the Educational Technical Fixes Bill. One of those is that the school district is no longer required to have a budget committee member on the district equity committee. If we are able to make that happen, it's an option, but it's not required anymore. And then you can see a few others, including the continued reporting expectation from ODE around chronic absenteeism and attendance. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, there was a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Kelly Douglas, please take a vote.
Thank you, Director Shoemaker.
Aye.
Director Salvaggio.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vidal.
Aye.
Chair Sloop.
Aye.
Thank you.
Do we have, okay, so we do not have public comment from residents that's related to our board business, so we'll move on to board business. And that is Dr. Hughes.
Good evening, School Board. So tonight, the business office have 5 items that we would like to present it to you. The first item is the budget committee appointment. So on our last meeting, the board declared this position vacant, and the district posts an advertising for the opening. We keep the application open until the end of February. We received 5 completed applications, and all of these 5, they are qualified to serve on the budget committee. So tonight, we're asking the board to appoint 1 individual to fill the remainder of the term, which is ending June 30th of 2027. This appointment will ensure that our budget committee remain fully seated as we prepare to enter the fiscal year 26-27 budget.
All right, so we have 5 applicants, and I'll go down the list, and if they're present, if they'd like to say a few words. Adam DeAngelis. Kara Clark. Okay. Janelle Norwood. Ashley Leonard. And Melissa Tominaga. Okay.
Hi, I'm Melissa Tominaga. Not sure exactly what to say. I applied to be on the budget committee. I've been working in government accounting for about 18 years. I am the accounting manager for PERS, so I think I understand the complications of government accounting, and budgeting are not always in your control. But I also understand PERS and the impact that has, but also how to account for rate changes and the death of site accounts. And so I just want to be helpful. I have 2 kids that attend Boones Ferry Primary School. I have a kindergartner and a 3rd grader, and we love the staff there. Both my kids really love the teachers and the paras, and my son's in speech, so just all the support there. So it's something I want to be involved in to help. So thank you.
Yeah. Do we have a motion for a position?
Okay. I move to appoint Kara Clark to position number 1, remaining 2-year term on the budget committee.
Second.
All right, so there is a motion and a second to appoint Kara Clark to position 1, remaining 2-year term on the budget committee. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, so I want to say how pleased I am with the candidate pool. This is a really excellent candidate pool. And I could go through, and I want to say that the reason I'm going to vote for Kara Clark is because I've been on the board for this as my 3rd year, and Kara has been really active in participation around board work, and that level of commitment. I mean, I just think that's wonderful. So I appreciate that. So that's why I'm going to vote for Kara. And I think we have some fabulous candidates. And I hope folks will look for more opportunities to serve, because I think that's what people want to do. They want to participate and help.
All right, Director Savaggio.
Yeah, I was also impressed with the pool of applicants. It looked like I think everyone had some degree of professional financial experience. I think that anyone that we selected would be able to drill down and do a fantastic job parsing these numbers and helping put a good budget together. I am going to be voting for Kara because I know in the last year that I've gotten to know her, she has a specific knack for connecting those budget decisions to effects on students, and I'm sure that anyone else would. I just don't have those connections to anyone else, and it's a quality that I want to see on the budget committee. So
Vice Chair Vidal.
I moved to appoint Kara because how engaged she has been during my term. She's attended probably every school board meeting I have been to. She has a depth of policy knowledge that I appreciate and I respect. And she also volunteers at her children's school. So she has a like a boots on the ground knowledge of what happens in our district as well. So I think that's important when it comes to the budget committee. So thank you.
All right. And yes, I will be approving Kara Clark as well. As everyone has said, she's been very involved in attending the board meetings, emailing. She has a lot of knowledge and depth. And she's also applied before. So any of the other candidates, I would encourage you to try again and at the next opening. So with that, Kelly Douglas, will you take a vote?
Thank you. Director Shoemaker.
Aye.
Director Salvaggio.
I
Vice Chair Vidal.
Aye.
And Chair Sloop.
Aye.
Thank you.
Chair Sloop, can I make one more comment? And just for anybody else out there, you do not need to have to come. You don't have to come to every board meeting to be appointed to a committee in our district.
And I think I would just like to echo Chair Sloop's comments that there will be future positions, and many people kind of get their feet wet by first applying and coming and then kind of listening and getting their curiosity piqued, and then they don't get selected the first time. I think so many of our budget committee members have applied multiple times. So Melissa, thank you for being here, and we hope you continue to apply and offer your services, and really appreciate you making the time to come tonight. Thank you.
I don't know if I interrupted. I was told to be here by 7 for the budget committee. I think I just missed it. I just wanted to put my name and face in front of her.
Are you Janelle or Ashley? Ashley, why don't you come up and just share a little bit about yourself and your interest and why you applied? And even though we're kind of in the middle of the process, we'll go ahead and let you speak. No, it's okay.
Yes, hi. I'm Ashley Leonard, and I moved to West Linn about 8 years ago. I have 2 boys in the school district at Trillium Elementary. They are kindergarten, well, one is kindergarten, one is 2nd grade. And my interest lies in just getting more involved. I have not been involved in the district yet, and I think there's just been some interesting happenings that has gotten me more interested. There's always 2 sides to every story, and I think you need to understand from a pragmatic approach or a pragmatic decision-making perspective, both sides of it. So I think that interests me. And then my professional background, I run a software company of 35 people and have for 10 years. So I know my way around a P&L and a budget and long-term forecasting. And I think I could bring a corporate perspective to a district. So perhaps it's not too far off from running a school district of a company that size and scale. Thank you.
Right. And in absentia, Director Wyatt was also in approval of Kara Clark. Did the
Yes. Thank you.
So just process-wise, even though we've already voted and now you've mentioned about Director Wyatt, we'll just note that in the minutes, but we won't count it as part of the on-site voting. So again, to those who came and who were not nominated or selected, we do hope that you'll continue to submit interest for future openings, whether it's on the Budget Committee or Long Range Planning Committee. There are other ways to serve, so thank you.
All right, and congratulations, Kara. And Dr. Hughes is going to give the financial report.
Yes, my second items will be the financial report. So in front of us is the financial information report for the general fund as of February 28. In this report, I will point out several items that the year-end projected number is slightly different than the adopted number, and then the factor of driven that. So when we look at the ending fund balance from 24-25 carry forward into this year, at the beginning fund balance, the 19.3 million, that's the confirmed number from the auditor who reported to you in February. And then on the top is the revenue side for the general fund. So in here, I grouped it. So you can see property taxes, common school fund, county school fund, federal forest fees. That is grouped it at a local revenue. So with the backup document that I provided to you from ODEs on the state school fund, you will see ODE prefer all of this fund under local revenue, and then the state school fund. The local revenue and the state school fund have an invert relationship. So when the local revenue go up, the state school fund go down, or vice versa, because this is to fill the gap on the formula that build the state school funding grant. So under the local revenue, although we have property tax, common school fund, county school fund, and federal forest, the only fund that have the direct relationship with the state school fund is the property taxes. Other funds, although it's listed under the local revenue, it have different regulation, and what happened to it is slightly or have very much zero impact to the state school fund. On the property tax and local option tax, when we received the information from the county in November, I presented to the school board that property taxes will likely go down. And because the property tax decline, you can see the state school fund kick in, bring in more revenue. And that's based on the ODE statement on February 20th. So besides local revenue and state school fund, we have highest cost deductibility. The highest cost deductibilities are based on the money that all the districts submitted. And because of the reimbursement request is higher than the funding available, so therefore ODE prorate the reimbursement. That means we will receive slightly less than what we budgeted. So right now, the budget is 1 million for the GM project that we have 763,000. So that is about 292,000 less than the adopted budget. So based on current information right now. The local option I already reported in November. Another category that declines in revenue, that's the interest earning. The interest earning under the adopted budget is 1.5 million, but based on the interest rate dropping, the business office estimate that the year-end projection will be 887,000, which means 660,000 less than the adopted budget. And in my next report on the investment, I will explain more into detail. One of the last item under the revenues is the Clackamas ESD. Based on the funding and the ADMW, the Clackamas ESD portion come in a little bit higher than we when we put the budget together. and that is estimated to be 263,000. So moving down to the expenditure, under the salary and associated payroll costs, we close out several vacancies, and we also have mid-year staff departure from the district. But because we have 6 months of payroll from now to June, and then we have July, August license payroll on top of that. So it's early for us to narrow down exactly what the projection look like for year end. So I'm just give the note in there, and we keep monitored. So if we see any significant saving in this area, we will inform the school board. Besides the staffing under purchasing services, everything else we try to stay within the normal of the business operation, and staff are aware that we enter into another reduction year, so everyone keep everything in line or very frugal. We will focus and monitor the Riverside baseball and softball field to see any cost impact, and then we will report that to the school board. So under the general fund, right now, the estimate ending fund balance for fiscal year 25-26 for general fund would be 10.2 million, or 6.74% of the total general fund expenditure. And I would like to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about why the ending fund balance is important. The general fund reserve is very important for the Oregon School District because of the district cash flow do not arrive evenly throughout the school year. So first, for the state school fund ODE provides us the funding starting July. So July we receive 2 payments, and then all the way to May, they skip June payment. So in June, we don't receive any funding from state. And then for property tax come in a very big amount in November. So when the school start, when we open the book in July, there's no money, right? No money until November. So therefore, having a reasonable ending fund balance is very important for our cash flow because of the missing June payment. And then, of course, when July comes, we receive 2 payments from the state, but then we don't have the money from property tax all the way into November. So without a reasonable ending fund balance, it's very challenging for the district to move forward into the year successfully. So that concludes my general fund report, and I will stop here and see if you have any question for me. Director Savaggio. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hughes. And I apologize for not getting this to you in advance, but I was noticing the distinction between what we had anticipated initially from the Common School Fund, and then the current estimate was down not a huge amount, $50,000. And of course, that's not in our control. But can you speak very briefly to the reason that was less than expected?
Yeah, normally we would receive the funding that coming in through the year. So by now, looking at the actual revenue coming in, and if I don't see any actual revenue coming in, we'll look at last year. What is the actual revenue that we received last year based on this Common School Fund, County School Fund, and federal forest fees, because this fund often come in by now. So if they don't, then the ability for them, they come in later in the year, very rare. Because of that, based on the actual amount that we currently receive, and then factor in a little bit based on in the history actual revenue, then it come up with right now we anticipate the decline overall in these three areas about 100,000. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just to close that loop, appreciate that very much. I ask because I know that in addition to going directly to our district, a lot of the Common School Fund is used to buy down K-12 PERS liabilities. And so anytime I see a dip in that, I'm not only worried about the initial bite to our budget directly, but also the bite that might have to additional PERS liabilities down the road. So thank you for keeping an eye on that and having a handle on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Vice Chair Vidal?
I have 3 questions. The first one I did not provide before the school board meeting, and I apologize, but I noticed that the local property taxes decreased by almost 455,000. What are a few reasons that could happen?
Well, every year during November, the district will receive the letter from Clackamas County, and from that letter is called a certified tax levy.
Okay.
And based on that letter, they told us what is the estimate number that the district will receive. And then based on that number, then the district will apply the guidance from the Department of Revenue. So normally the Department of Revenue recommend the district to use 96%, 94 to 96%, 94 to be safe. 96 is have some room in there. But because the district have a very good, strongly support community, therefore, based on the historical that we have strong support from the community, and we feel safely to factor in 97% collection rate. So using the information from the county provided to us, apply 97% of it, then we come up with a number that the property tax is about to be 51.5 million instead of 51.9 for the adopted budget.
Okay, thanks so much. I have 2 more questions. So my next question is, first of all, I thank you so much tonight for your explanation of why having a reserve is important and how we are at 6.74%, putting, as you know in your memo, putting us at the lower recommended range. A few people in our community have asked why we don't have a reserve of, let's say, $1 million. Could you talk about that? Why we don't have a reserve of that small number?
Yes, it's a very good question, and thank you for asking. So first, as you know, Oregon budget law does not set a required standard for school district to have a reserve policy for anything. So it means it's up to the school board at different school district. So some school district, they do have policy like 5%, 6%, but at our school district, currently we don't. Most Oregon school districts follow common best practice, we see between keeping 5 to 10% reserve of the annual operating revenue of the general fund. And it range is not random because it's based on the guidance from GFOAs and OSBA. Normally, the reason to keep at least 1 to 2 months of operational costs or 8 to 10% reserve, this reserve will help school district avoid mid-year cut and then maintain cash flow when the state payment vary or the property tax coming late, or handle any emergency without disrupting the learning.
I think I would just add that what we even heard tonight is between the high-cost disability allocation and the investment earnings, that was $1 million right there that were less than what we had projected. And those budget amounts come from best estimates either from the state on what we have received in the past for high-cost disability. So we didn't just pick a number randomly. It was based on what we had been getting and what we expected to get. And then the investment earnings as well, looking at kind of that typical investment earnings. So those two combined was a net loss of $1 million. So these kind of ups and downs all year is why most school districts in Oregon do not operate with just $1 million in their ending fund balance. We do have it in our contingency for, you know, those kinds of smaller items that we might need to have to budget adjust. But that's not a replacement for an ending fund balance reserve that just needs to be much larger when you're dealing with an expenditure budget of $153 million and the type of fluctuation and vulnerability that you even heard tonight around just various accounts that can come in higher or lower.
Including property taxes as well.
Property
Negative
taxes
$494,000.
and
Yeah.
interest earnings, which are not set by us, but are set by banks and investment companies. So.
And my last question is, are school districts allowed to have a negative budget balance in the state of Oregon? Or what would happen if we did?
Yeah. Another very good question. So the answer to this is no. School districts in Oregon are not allowed to end the year with a negative fund balance. And the state law requires the district to have a balanced budget, which means we cannot spend more money than we have. And if the district end up with a negative ending fund balance, there are several things have to happen. So the first one, if we know we will end the fiscal year with the negative, the deficit, then we have to fit the budget right away by cutting the spending, delayed purchasing, phasing, hiring, adjusting the budget back to zero or positive. And then another thing to consider is the state would increase the oversight, which means they will have the audit fighting for our district because it would consider violating the budget law. And also it will damage our financial reputation. Like for example, today, Dr. Ledward, myself, and the Operation Bond Office, we on Zoom call 2 hours with Moody. So every year or every time when we go out to sell bond, the rating companies such as Moody will watching for our financial information, and if they recognize we run into deficit, then our rate would drop. And then if the rate drops, then we don't have good investor that feel safe to invest in our district. Last but not least is we could face cash flow problem. And then the most important is we need to come up with a recovery plan. So the bottom line is negative fund balance is not allowed in Oregon School District, and the consequences is very serious. So keeping healthy, reasonable reserve is the best way for the school district.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hughes. I really appreciate you answering all my questions very thoroughly. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think we're seeing, unfortunately, what's happening to a number of school districts, as Director Shoemaker alluded to earlier in his report, notably Portland Public School District, that is, at this point in the year, finding a $14 million shortfall in the middle of the year. And they can't just carry that deficit over to next year. So they're talking about 4 to 6 furlough days and some significant cuts to staffing before the school year even ends in order to have a balanced budget. And they also have a policy around an ending amount in their reserve. So to meet both of those criteria.
Thank you. And the reason why I ask those questions is because I have been asked those questions by community members, and I just believe we need to have those questions answered publicly so people can all be on the same page as to why we don't want a negative balance, or why we want a reserve fund that's between 5 to 10%. So thank you both. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity to just keep reminding our community that government finance and funding is very different than private business or home finance. There's no credit card out there that we can just charge things to, and so that it is complicated, and there's a lot of laws that govern what we can and can't do with public money.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It's all good question. I appreciate you asked to allow me the opportunity to share. So thank you. Yes. So my next items will be investment. Our investment strategy continue to emphasize safety, liquidity, and compliance. So as you know, we use local government investment pool as our primary investment tool. And currently, in that pool, the interest rate is about 4%, and the limit that we can allow to put money in there is 63.3 million. Because the Oregon Treasurer would like to provide everyone opportunities, normally the interest earned in this a little bit higher than the U.S. Treasury outside. So a lot of city, county, and school district, if we have money, that's our main investment. So because sometimes, like in the month of November, when we have money from property tax come in, we have state school fund money come in, we have bond money, we have debt services fund, a lot of that, we exceed 63.3 million. So I will work with Piper Sandler, which is the third party, the investment company, to reach out to do short-term investment. Short-term investments normally is no more than 1 year. For us, we do 1 month to 3 months. And this means it's very quick turnaround. For any given in time when the district needs money, we can call them and then we bring the money back for our operation. So currently, in the backup that I provide, we have 30 million that hold in Treasury, and the interest rate for this is 3.5%. So the information that I provide at the backup, that is as of January 31st. That's the information in there. So earlier when I report to you in the general fund that the general fund earned 405,000 currently, and year-to-date projection up to 694,000. That is leaving with a decrease in the interest earned for this year. So this information is just presented to you so you can get a picture of where we put most of our money, and then if we have any exceeding in the limit, then where do we go for the short-term investment? So this information is just presented to you and no action required. I will stop here and see if you have any question for me. Yes. Yes.
Savaggio.
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Hughes. Again, apologize for not getting the question/comment to you in advance, but I just wanted to echo what I brought up. I think at some point last year, I seem to recall that we were authorizing public depositories for these funds, and we authorized the Oregon Short-Term Fund, and we authorized the private sector banks if we exceeded that. And I asked if we were going to be considering investments in the local government intermediate pool that the state runs, which I think is benchmarked around 6%. It's lower liquidity, obviously. And I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm not intending by any means to suggest that a school board, let alone a single school board member, should be directing investments. But it's a good state program that I wanted to make sure that we were at least having on the table, so to speak.
Yes, I appreciate the question, and I remember you asked this question before too. We do look into that, but for Oregon School District, we only qualify to put our money in LGIP, and then for the organization that you mentioned, that's it for the city and the county, not the school district.
Thank you for that information.
Yes.
Much obliged.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay, my next items is the fund transfer. So we are requesting approval to transfer $921,147.65 from Fund 470 land proceeds to the general fund. This amount will reimbursed to the district by the city for the costs associated with the open land of property. In accordance with the accounting rule, the fund was initially recorded in land proceed fund. So given the district plan with 10 million budget reduction for 26-27, we are request that this dollar to be moved into the general fund so that they can be used for operating purpose and have offset with the reduction.
I'd like to move to approve resolution number 2025-07, resolution authorizing the transfer of funds from Fund 470 land proceeds to the general fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2025-07, which is authorizing the transfer of funds from Fund 470 land proceeds to the general fund. Is there any discussion? Director Salvaggio.
Sorry, I have a lot of discussion tonight. I think I, like many of my neighbors, and I think a good portion of the people in this room, are both thrilled to have the money come into the school district, but also as West Linn residents on the hook for it at the same time. And it splits me a little bit because it's kind of out one pocket into the other. I hope that moving forward, the district and the city can work well together, like in times past, because I think that every time you move money from one pocket to the other, the attorneys keep a good chunk of it. And I would prefer that that stayed either in one or the other local government. Thank you.
I do want to remind the board that the city has appealed this decision, so we're not sure we're done with moving money from one pot to the other.
Let the record show that this was not an accusation against either local government.
So my question is for clarification. So this 921 was the litigation fees that the district was awarded. It was put into the land bank, and now we're transferring it from the land bank into our general fund.
Yes, yeah, because
You'd made a decision as a board that you wanted these fees to be applied towards revenue for next year to bring down any kind of reduction to be used towards teaching positions, just like the educators this year of WWEA gave up 2 days of pay and furlough days to save some teaching positions. And so this was the board's gesture in trying to keep those positions intact for next year. And so we just held it in that land account, but now just to start preparing for the 26-27 budget, we need to shift it over there.
And that way to provide transparency, because we don't want to receive the check and deposit it direct to the general fund. So because this is really related to open lender and lend fund account, so we would like to record the money there and then now write a resolution to the school board so we have documentation maybe a year from now when all of us not remember anything, someone come back and say what happened, then they can look at the resolution and remember the story.
Thank you. All right. Kelly Douglas, please take a vote.
Thank you. Director Shoemaker.
Aye.
Director Salvaggio.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vidal.
Aye.
Chair Sloop.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And my last items will be update the fixed access threshold. So the state controller had increased the threshold for the fixed access from 5,000 to 10,000, effectively statewide and aligned with the federal guidelines. So we are a little bit behind. We're still at 5,000. So the business office recommend that the board adopt the same threshold so that our district remain consistent with the state accounting standard and reporting requirement. And that concludes our 5 items for the business office.
I move to approve the property inventories policy code DID. Okay, DID. Oh, sure. Apologies, in the amount of $10,000 from the former amount of $5,000. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? So I'm just noticing that this was adopted way back in 2006. And so it's probably a good time to kind of get up with the rest of the world and have it at $10,000 for property inventories, because $5,000 these days is not going to cover a whole lot. Well, yeah, even 10,000. So no discussion? All right, we're ready to take a vote.
Thank you. Director Shoemaker.
Aye.
Director Salvaggio.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vidal. Aye. And Chair Sloop.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that concludes the 5 items that the business office prepared for you tonight.
Okay, next is Department of Operations, Remo Douglas.
Good evening, board. Here tonight, we've got proposed resolution 2025-08 for the selection of an architectural firm to support the new capital bond program. As noted in the memo, we went out and advertised it publicly as required. We received 8 proposals from different firms. I can tell you this was the cream of the crop of the regional K-12 design industry. We received 8 excellent proposals from very qualified firms. Each of our 6 scoring committee members scored independently, and then we brought those numbers together and discussed. And then determined that we would interview with the 4 highest ranking firms, which we did. After those interviews and lengthy deliberations, each member was allowed to again independently, privately score. We brought those back together and ultimately formed a recommendation for Arcadis Architects to be that prime architectural consultant. Thought I might take a moment longer than typical, as with the memo here, to just speak to the material differences between this bond program and many of our recent programs. In prior programs, we would often have 2 new schools that would be the bulk of the dollar value. While those are substantial and there's a lot of technicality around doing those, there's also a certain element of simplicity in certain respects, versus a program like this one, which will be many, many small contracts throughout the whole program. And the district really needed a partner architecture firm that understood the level of complexity and oversight and architectural project management that was going to be required for an exercise like this. And a number of the firms did so very well, spoke to it quite eloquently, and came up with a very different approach than would have typically been presented for our other bonds. And again, this is a case where Arcadis did exceptionally well. This is a firm we have worked with for many years. They are a large, substantial firm, both their local office, who we've partnered with for many years, but also now that they're under that Arcadis umbrella, additional branches around the country and in fact globally. And again, they just showed their quality in terms of understanding how different this was. And it's not just, hey, you've worked with us before, we do the thing we do, and it works, so just hire us again. It was a dramatically different presentation proposal that was impressive to the whole group. And then pursuant to some of the board's interests in recent years, one of the criteria we put in was, how are they going to incorporate small, local, and MWESB consultant firms under their umbrella? For a huge program like this, we need that steady hand to be overseeing that large amount of work from that prime architect. But how can they incorporate small businesses in and do a certain amount of mentoring and support and providing some structure within which those small emerging businesses can operate? And it's another one where it's very fun to watch these exceptional firms respond to that and show not only a willingness, but an eagerness to do so. And Arcadis in particular was able to speak to relationships they have with small firms that they've already been partnering with. And so, you know, back to the more normal things. Of course, the process complied with all ORS requirements. Again, it's a 6-member committee scoring independently. I was the only member of that committee who'd been on an architecture selection committee with the district before. So lots of new and diverse voice into that selection. In particular, thank Dr. Hughes for, amidst all the other things that she just talked you through, was a member of that scoring committee and brought tremendous input into that process. It was really fun to get to work with her through that. So with that, staff would recommend the board authorize staff to move towards a contract with Arcadis. And certainly if there are any questions, happy to answer.
Madam Chair, if you'll entertain a motion, I move to adopt the resolution 2025-08 for the selection of Arcadis architects for the described services as related to the 2025 capital bond program, and authorize the superintendent to execute a contract for those services.
I second.
All right, there is a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2025-08 for the selection of Arcadis architects for professional architectural and engineering consultant services as related to the 2025 capital bond program, and authorize the superintendent to execute a contract for those services. Is there any discussion? All right, Director Salvaggio.
Sorry, I know we all want to get out of here. Remo, thank you so much. And by all accounts, Arcadis is a wonderful company. I know that we've worked with them before. I know that you've had more detailed discussions. I am wondering if we will expect them to be working in tandem with the engineering firm. And I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this correctly because there's some Norwegian letters in it, but Snohetta, because I know that they have a pattern of working with that Norwegian engineering firm. And I know that there are some problematic aspects with that firm with regard to its workforce and workforce relations. So are we engaging them just for their architectural, or are we also expecting them to bring on an engineering firm?
Sure. Yes, this contract contemplates that they would bring forward full design teams as appropriate to projects. Of course, I'm guessing as to the spelling on that name. I'm not familiar with that firm's name.
One of
and
the
that's not a
O's with the
firm-
lines through it.
Yeah, it's not a firm that they've brought as part of the team in their proposal or for prior work. There is, of course, a balanced negotiation in terms of should the district take exception to any particular subconsultant and why that might be. So there are processes in place should there be concerns, but I'm not aware of that firm or those particular concerns, but they were not specifically named.
Very cool. Thank you.
So I have a question, and this is just my, for clarification. So with architect, I think like what we would use for new schools and things like that. Whereas a lot of our projects are improvements or safety upgrades, intrusion glass, things like that, or turf fields. So, and I know we have like an owner's rep that we approved. So where does the architect part fall in, like for projects?
Sure. Well, it depends on the project, of course. Things like remodeling the front entries of Wilsonville High School or Westland High School. Obviously, there's an architectural component there that's more visible. Even in doing things like the window system replacements, that's something where you want an architecture firm partnering with you, and there's technical specific things you want them looking around that. There will be projects like some of the synthetic turf projects going in this summer where there will not be an architect involved. And then I think an important part that I pay a lot of attention to with architecture firms is that really you think of them like being the general contractor to all the subcontractors. And that's why I always emphasize that there's actually project manager architects. And that's a really important role for managing all of those sub-consultants, the landscape architects and various engineers, to make sure that the documents are completed, that they're aligned between all the different disciplines, that they get done on time. And then architects, as opposed to most of the engineering disciplines, specialize in the procurement aspect of things and what we call the front-end documents, all the technicalities of when does the contractor need to submit certain documents to the owner or the architect and so forth. And so there is a cost, of course, to those services. And we're diligent about, if we don't need design at all, we know what certain fencing details look like. We know what kind of gate we want, and we can do a Google Earth with some markings on it, and we can get bids, and we have no design cost at all. Or if we're trying to figure out how to balance all the floor levels that are throughout the Westland High School entry, there's 5, and we're trying to create a cohesive front entry system there. We want some really sharp architects to help us figuring that out. And so that's a continuous balancing exercise that we're doing. And our construction management folks in the office now are, of course, a big part of that. So did that answer the question?
Thank you. All right, any more discussion? All right, Kelly Douglas, take a vote.
Thank you. Director Shoemaker.
Aye.
Director Salvaggio.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vidal.
Aye.
And Chair Sloop.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, and last on our agenda is public comment from residents not directly related to the board business. And we have one. Andrew Clark. So probably don't really need to read the public comment.
No, that'd be nice.
All right.
Awesome. So Andrew Clark, parent of 3 kids here in Linn-Wilsonville. With the recent work in the district with the Urban Collaborative around inclusion, I kind of wanted to come up and talk about that a little bit, at least my experience, my family's experience, kind of my thoughts about where we need to go as a district. I think one of the things when we start having the conversation on inclusion, a lot of times the conversation gets shut down because we're focused on the why of inclusion. And I think we know that, right? We see the stories of the families of kids who have traditionally been excluded, who are now included in the community, have friendships, and get to experience a normal childhood. And I think everyone agrees that that is important. I think everyone agrees, like, that's why we do it. But there's another side as well, which is the practices that we use to help support other children and the rest of the kids in our special education community. And the reality is it's challenging. After sitting through the most recent work session, I would say that what was presented was the unicorn and rainbow conversation, which is everything is great, this is what we're doing. The reality is a lot of what I heard isn't in every school in this district. It isn't the experience of every child. Is it where we need to be? Is it an ideal? Sure. But I think there's a real conversation around what the actual challenges are, what roadblocks, what does this look like in each school and each location, and how can we make it better? For me personally, I think a big roadblock is consistency. It matters who your learning specialist is. It matters what school building you're in. It matters if they're there this year, next year, the year following that, the level of service that you'll receive in this district. Part of that's there's this reluctance to kind of say, we need some accountability or we want to be a little bit more directive. And the reality is that kids with special needs, a lot of what they need is the same, right? And so there's a real opportunity to help eliminate this guessing game for our instructional coordinators to be like, I have 10 choices. You know, my family, we have a history with dyslexia. We've dealt with that. If you look at the state level, what's listed for the state is Wilson. We say we use Wilson to help support our students. What we have found is very few schools have people trained to deliver Wilson, but yet that on a state website, that's what it lists. And so there's a real opportunity, you know, as a parent, if you're getting outside intervention and you don't know what the school is using, it's hard for you to also support them on your own as well. And so I think we can do a better job with consistency. My hope is that, you know, there's a lot of honesty and transparency with this information gathering that's happened. My hope is that, you know, we have the full report released. So as a community, we can actually talk about how we move this forward. I don't think it's about blame. I think we all want the same thing, but we need to have transparent conversations and not just talk about the sunshine and the rainbows because there's real kids at the end of it. So thank you.
You. Did you want to talk about?
Well, coming back to me. In the important dates section, I just wanted everyone to know that on April 6th, we will be having a work session from 5 to 6 p.m. And that work session will be focused on board seats, or how do we say that? Board goal number 5. We are researching, creating, and potentially implementing representative board positions with the assistance of the Oregon School Board Association, OSBA. So Kelly, Chair Sloop, and I will be leading that session. And then on April 20th, we're going to have a regular board meeting, but before that board meeting, we will have an executive session which will include an interim evaluation for Dr. Ludwig. And then in May, we'll have another regular board meeting where Superintendent Ludwig will give her budget message. So, yes. And then June, we will be graduating. So,
Yes.
yes.
3 high school graduations.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That concludes our regular board meeting. Meeting's adjourned.